Welcome to Big Give for fundraisers. How many people in the room are taking part in their first Big Give this year? Oh, good. So we have some regulars and some people who are new to Big Give. Welcome. I'm here just to give you some of the basics about Big Give and what you need to know as a fundraiser. So my name is Jasmine Payne. I'm the Executive Director of Development for the College of Engineering. And I've been a member of the Big Give Steering Committee now for 2 years. The College of Engineering has had a lot of success with Big Give, and I'd like to make a shout out in the room to Clara Dellenbach, who is now in class campaigns in UDAR, who was the architect of much of the strategy in the College of Engineering for a few years. So she is also an excellent resource on thinking about Big Give and how to use it to broaden the base. So we're excited to have this session today, which is really just geared toward fundraisers. And as you know, we are really a part of what makes Big Give work, and especially at the major gift level, as you'll see in some of our slides later, kind of what makes this program such a success. So we hope that you can get a lot of tailored information today that will help you as you work with donors in the coming year. And I hope that you will take a minute to let us know how we did by completing this survey before you leave today. So with that, why do we do Big Give? Hopefully some of you who are new, were able to attend the session a few weeks ago that did a deeper dive into Big Give. But what Big Give really helps us with is acquiring new donors. It's an incredible donor acquisition program and helps us really reach that younger demographic. The majority of Big Give donors are under 40, something that's very important to us as we think about building the base. It is an excellent tool to help close major gifts. It generates, of course, gifts the day of, and it generally increases the power, people's knowledge about the power of philanthropy and how they can make an impact at Berkeley. And it also helps engage our online communities and drives activity online. If you're new to Big Give, you'll see that the leaderboards and the kind of contests and activities that are happening online day of are really part of what generates a lot of excitement in the program. Over the last 3 years, Big Give has attracted nearly 5,000 new donors to campus, and it's showing that it's a very effective tool for donor acquisition. An interesting tidbit is that 1,350 lapsed donors came back to Berkeley last year in Big Give. So not only are we acquiring new donors, it's helping us reach out to people who may have strayed from the fold. As I said, this is really about building, this program is really about building the base, getting those donors who are 40 and under excited about giving to Berkeley, being engaged. Of course, we're also soliciting donors from across all ages, but it's really where we see a lot of activities in that under 40 segment and really helping us build the next generation of philanthropic leaders on our campus. So what has the impact been? So we've had 3 very incredible years, and we're building on a lot of success going into 2018. As you can see, the number of gifts has grown steadily, and the value of those gifts has really, last year was pretty incredible. The results there are, I think, speak for themselves. This is a very impressive program, a 19% growth in the number of gifts last year, and more than double the revenue. So it's worth participating. As a lot of you in the room will be working on launch gifts, those gifts that help start the day when the leaderboards open, you can see that the launch gifts represent about 3% of the gifts that we count for Big Give. But the impact of those gifts is really powerful. And this is what really drives the big totals for our work. As all of you know who work in major gifts, right? It's been a truism that 80% of your dollars will come from 20% of your donors. We can see the ways that kind of effect is shown in the results for Big Give, where it's really those early gifts, seed gifts, launch gifts that are driving big totals for a program. So how do we get there? What are the best practices for Big Give fundraisers and for fundraisers during Big Give, and how can you think about utilizing this program in your work? There's a more colorful, very pretty tiled version of this that should be on your chairs. So one way that we've used this very effectively in the College of Engineering, and we'll hear from others as well, is to use this as a way to reach out to our kind of loyal annual fund donors and ask them to consider making their gift again or to consider upgrading their gift. And when we've talked to our donors, I'll just speak from my experience in engineering, one thing that they've found very compelling is the way that this program and their gift, particularly as a launch gift, helps really bring the next generation of philanthropists to the campus and to think about those larger commitments, that it's really a way to inspire. And people have found that compelling. But this is another way to think about framing your ask when you're talking to donors, talking to them about an extended pledge. So of course, if you're talking to somebody about a scholarship gift and you let them know that if this gift closes before the kind of quiet phase for Big Give ends, then this would count toward those totals. So just giving them, I know one of the things we struggle with in major gifts are deadlines and getting people to think about getting a commitment done on our timetable. One thing that I really enjoy about Big Give and why I think it can be an effective tool is it can really help put a deadline in front of someone. We really want to get this in. This is really going to help our totals. So I encourage you to think about that. It's also a great way to start a conversation with someone you've never talked to. You can tell them about what the program is, how the pivotal role that launch gifts play in our program, using it, of course, to close gifts that might be lingering out there, the proposal that you've sent that somebody says, yes, I'm going to do it, and you kind of can't get them to close. Big Give can be a nice tool to further incentivize them and tell them about the leverage that it can have if it's part of this program. Using it, of course, to inspire younger donors to think about reporting your results and using your boards as a way to get excitement generated about Big Give. Maybe think about a board challenge. I know that we asked the Berkeley Engineering Fund board, we asked every single member to participate, and I think we had something like 90% of them come forward to do that. So that's another way that you can think about it. So, of course, as we think about Big Give, an important element to consider is the donor experience. I think that you want to make sure that, I know that we're all trying to get big totals and get as many gifts to count as we can for Big Give. And we just want to make sure that as we're talking to donors that they fully understand that they are making a Big Give gift, because they're going to get stewarded as a Big Give donor. So you wouldn't want to close a gift and have somebody not understand that they had in fact been part of Big Give and then get a bunch of thank you emails and different mailings from the campus thanking them for that Big Give gift, and them being confused and calling you and not understanding what's going on. So making sure that you're having those conversations early with people and that they really understand how they're participating. And of course, it's going to be very important, as always, to make sure we have contact reports and proposals for these Big Give gifts. And we're going to hear from Nancy a little bit later about how we're counting, what we're counting, and she'll talk in more detail about that. But I think it's really important that we make sure that our, necessary, in fact, to make sure that our contact reports, ideally in the subject line, make a reference to this as a big give gift, so that when our colleagues in gift processing go to process those gifts, they can easily see that it's a big give gift, and that it ends up on the leaderboard when it should, and that all of that works smoothly. I think close collaboration with our prospects, our colleagues in prospect development, is also one of the ways that we can ensure a very smooth big give experience for our donors, making sure there's a strategy. And if you're working with a prospect who's multi-interest, that you're in conversation with your colleagues in other units to make sure that 5 people aren't asking the same donor for a big gift. I think, is there anything major else I need to cover on that? I think yeah. I think prospect development is really the key to keeping this running smoothly and making sure your contact reports reflect conversations about big give. And with that, I think we're going to hear from some frontline fundraisers who have already worked on some of these campaigns. I'd like to welcome Holly Fink, Associate Director of Annual Giving for the Law School, who will share some of her strategies for leveraging Big Give for impressive results.
So I hope to share some impressive results, but also a little bit of our journey, because I think in all our units we learn as we go, and sometimes we make mistakes or we don't start out the right way. So I want to be honest in this room. So the first year we participated, we had a $1 million gift, and that was our big triumph of year 1 of the Big Give. And I know you all feel like, well, cry me a river about that. But the weakness of it was we didn't go broad. So we were very happy about that, and we just sort of rested on our laurels. And then the year after, the second year, just because of staffing changes, reunion right before the Big Give, we didn't really maximize much. But then last year we started to come into our own about it. So last year we raised almost $900,000 through the Big Give, and reflecting those numbers cited earlier, about 3% of our donors were responsible for 30% of that. So what we learned last year is that we have many, many donors who are excited about the Big Give, and particularly annual fund and maybe lower end major donor folks. There's a lot of room there for them to give more, and for the Big Give to serve as a platform for them to up the ante with their giving to the law school. So it was a very quick lesson and a very inspiring one for us, even though we could have even done more. So we raised $300,000 from about 34 donors. And we found that we did have many people who were very interested. So some of the tactics, well, first of all, our targets were board members. That was a good starting point. We also went after reunion volunteers because it was the end of our reunion year cycle with folks. So our core people were definitely prime targets and were givers. And they were excited because they could give to the Big Give as a seed gift and have it count towards their class campaign and be leaders in their class campaign. So they really loved that. We also had a whole kind of group of people who we just had given, we targeted them, they had given maybe $500 in previous Big Gives on the day of, and we thought, oh, if somebody's just going to give $500 the day of, out of the blue, surely they could at least give $1,000 a year for the next 5 years. So we looked at those people and divided them up among us. And what we offered them was very simple. We just said we will list them on the website, our website, as very special people. And we had a name, I forgot what we called them, but we did list them and we updated them on the progress of our launch campaign. A couple tactics we did. Our interim dean was really excited about this, so we orchestrated a phone call with our core volunteers, and it was to talk about the search for the new dean and where we were after reunion, but she also directly pitched, I want everybody on this phone call to be a Big Give launch donor, and they all were like, of course, yes, Dean Murray, we will do that. And so we picked up several people that way. We also promoted it in our e-newsletter, and we got several people just calling out of the blue, saying, I want to do this, which is kind of always an indicator to me when you get people calling out of the blue that you're underselling something. So so that was really gratifying, and they were very happy. And then we followed up with our reunion prospects and some major donors who were closing around that time. Not a lot. We were definitely kind of more in the terrain of our higher end annual fund donors. The other place where we did double duty is we have a faculty campaign that starts in November, and so we were able to say to some of the faculty members, if you give to your faculty campaign at a certain level, it can be a big give, seed gift, count as a big give, seed gift as well. One of the particular hooks that was mentioned, we had a matching fund. We have had an existing matching fund for young alumni who graduated in the past 10 years. So we pitched to our young alums that your gift will be matched on a 2-to-1 basis if you give to the big give. So imagine, especially if you're a reunion year donor, oh, it can count to my reunion year gift. It can be matched 2-to-1, and it's a big gig gift, and I'm going to get my name and lights on the website. So we try to make as many layerings as we can. And one person in particular strikes me is a young alumni donor. She did do $1,000 a year over the next 5 years, and she would have never done that if all those factors had not been in play. So we wanted this year definitely focus on many of the young alumni donors. And we had sort of a mini campaign in the office. I love the proverbial thermometer, and so, we have cubicles, so I love to show this is where we're at, and the other staff people who were doing Ask would go by, where are we at? What's going on? So we did create some excitement around it in the office. And there were probably about 4 of us doing Ask, and then we had one person in our office who basically kept track of the paperwork of it all and made sure that we were getting things into UDAR correctly. So I would recommend, figuring out a team approach, of course, and many of you have already done this, and then making sure administratively you have it covered. This year, based on last year and how easy it was. So 300,000 still is not a lot, but it was so easy. And so that was the main thing we all walked away with. That was a piece of cake. That didn't really take much time at all. So this year, with just a little more time, we feel like we can do much better. So again, we're going to go after big give donors, kind of the loyalists. I think there's definitely a big give loyalist crowd that has developed. They just like the big give. And then there are the younger donors, all the characteristics we've talked about. This year, because of the timing, we are going to focus on 2017 reunion year prospects. So those who haven't given yet, say to them, hey, this is the last hurrah to give. And since we're opening up launch gifts on November 1st, anyone gives in this time frame can give their reunion year gift and count as a launch gift. But because it spans into the new year, we can also approach next year's reunion year donors who are prime, in a good place. We've been in some communication and say, hey, your reunion year gift made now will count towards a big gift as well. We also have a whole other volunteer structure through a campaign called Partners in Leadership, where we have captains soliciting people in different workplaces where we have Berkeley Law alums. So we're going to be talking to them and saying, hey, this is a chance for you to be a leader, to up the level of what you've been giving, and kind of get yourself in a good place for the next 5 years. So whether it's, $5,000 a year for the next 5 years, $2,500, whatever it is, you've been a valued member of the team, for several years. This is how you can kind of double the way that you're helpful. And then obviously major donors that we have where it might be an incentive. We do have people who do love this kind of thing, so particularly going for those folks. The other thing we did with people that we didn't, and we just did a little bit, we got a little jam, but we'd like to try this year, is in the 2 or 3 days before the big give, do phone calls to people maybe we didn't succeed with and say, hey, just a reminder, big give is coming. You can still make that gift. It won't count in this particular way, but you've been really helpful, and we don't want you to miss the boat with this. So that's what we've done, and we're looking forward to raising a lot more money and being on the leaderboards with you all and going up in the rankings. So thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Smith. I'm the Executive Director for Leadership Gifts and Corporate and Foundation Relations in UDAR. I'm actually not going to talk about this from a programmatic standpoint. I'm going to talk about it from a donor cultivation standpoint and playing and running the marathon and not the sprint. I recognize how much of a sprint Big Give can be, but I want to give a couple of examples of how we leverage this opportunity for major gifts that were still farther out, I guess, right? And so important to keep in mind for everybody who's cultivating major gift donors, somebody who can make $1 million gift, whether they tell you so or not, those people can make significant gifts in between. They might not be willing to put it down on paper, but they can absolutely do that stuff. So I'm going to give a couple of donor profiles and to sort of encourage you all to think about a dual ask as you're having gift conversations with your donors. We found Big Give to be an incredibly valuable component to that conversation. So the first donor I'm going to share with you, actively involved, good volunteer on campus, $1 million plus capacity, was very clear with us that there were other commitments in other places, that now was not the right time. But that being said, we knew that this donor really wanted to be engaged actively sort of here on campus with us, in an ongoing basis. And so what we did was we leveraged Big Give to ask for a $25,000 annual gift, partially because we knew that this donor really wanted to be part of helping build a culture of philanthropy on campus, and this was a really good way for us to be able to do that. From the major gift officer standpoint, this was the easiest thing we could ever possibly do because the stewardship is already built in. I didn't have to do any heavy lifting. The other people involved in this donor conversation had to do no heavy lifting. Pam and the entire team at Big Give are reporting on totals, sending follow-up, all the other stuff. All I had to do was loop back at the end and say, thank you so much for doing this. We hope you enjoyed seeing, the impact that your gift had. So the donor felt like they were really part of a broader philanthropic community, which oftentimes I know is challenging here on campus, or can be challenging on campus. And so this particular donor, the gift that they made last year, they're going to make another gift this year to a different area of campus, and we're anticipating a $500,000 to $1 million gift ask sometime in the next 12 to 18 months. And we were just leveraging this as a middle step as we were moving down the road. The second donor I want to talk about is a little bit of a different case. Similar capacity, could make a 7-figure gift to campus, but we know through our conversations that this donor their family has other philanthropic priorities, and that the major gift to the university is likely in the cards somewhere down the road, either as a major estate gift or when their priorities shift a little bit based on sort of what their family collectively looks at. So this donor is also actively engaged, has been giving to one area on campus for decades, right? In the $10,000 to $20,000 range every year, give or take a little bit. What Big Give did for us for this donor was it opened the door a little bit wider. The donors giving to campus had not been to his academic unit. But we knew that he had additional capacity, and we leveraged the opportunity to begin a conversation with him with a blessing from the other area where he was supporting to actually have a conversation about making a gift to his academic area. He thought it was a nice thing to do because he wants to be able to help support the academic piece too, but he's been so invested in this other area for so long, and there hadn't been a whole lot of additional dialogue. It really provided a platform for us to say, hey, this is something unique. We know you've already done your piece and your commitment for this area this year. Would you consider doing something for your academic unit as part of Big Give and to be part of the effort? And he was really excited about doing so, and fortunately for us, has already committed to doing so again for this upcoming year. And so I think it's important to think about some of the major gift stuff. I recognize everybody has metrics and targets, and we're all trying to raise as much money as quickly as we possibly can. But if the donors are upfront with you about what their timing looks like, consider leveraging Big Give as an opportunity rather than something just to gloss over, because people want to be part of a community, and this presents a really good opportunity for donors to be part of a much broader philanthropic community and feel really excited. I mean, it's hard to argue with $11+ million in giving in 24 hours, and everybody was really excited. And so, we've continued to sort of operate like that and leverage this as an in-between step for something that's still out there a little ways, but we know is going to be coming at some point. And so a nice cultivation step with thank you for the built-in stewardship, because it makes our life so much easier. So that's what I wanted to share today, and I'll ask Jasmine to come back up to is it Nancy's coming up? Okay.
Yep. Good morning. I'm Nancy McKinney. I'm the Executive Director of Donor and Gift Services in UDAR. And it's great that Jasmine provided us some historical context about how amazing the Big Give has been for Berkeley, and that Jasmine and Holly and Jason gave us really terrific ideas of how to work with donors for your unit's participation in the Big Give and for donors' participation. And now we're going to do some of the really, really fun, dry, boring, operational stuff for a few minutes. And then I think Pam's going to have some more exciting things to talk about later on. So in the small pile on your chair, there's a rather extensive document on what counts for what and when. If you are new to Big Give, you should definitely read that. It's got a lot of really great information. If you're not new to Big Give, you should read it, because while what counts has not changed for this year, and what doesn't count hasn't changed for this year, we've expanded the document hopefully to give you some insight into answers to some of the questions that we in Donor and Gift Services receive a lot of around, well, I know that it counts, but I don't understand how it counts in the time frame of the Big Give for the leaderboards, et cetera, which Pam will be talking more about in a bit. So we've expanded the content. I encourage you to read it with fresh eyes when you're not exhausted. And then you are always welcome to follow up with me with any specific questions you might have. So during the launch phase, the requirements are pretty much the same as they were last year. Proposals have to be for $5,000 or more, and they have to be documented in CAD CRM. Jasmine talked about the importance of working with your prospect development colleague to make sure that they get into the system. And I want to point out that the document that's on your chair, we somehow deleted this really important sentence from that. So if you would get out a pen or make a mental note to yourself, just to really highlight that all of the proposals need to be for $5,000 or more. Having said that, not every donor is going to be interested in doing that. And if a launch gift comes in and the donor says, at this time, what I'd like to do is $1,000, that's fine. So launch gifts can be valued at less than $5,000, but your ask has to be for $5,000 or more. Jasmine referenced the importance of doing a contact report. Again, prospect development can help you with that. And later on in the Big Give process, we'll be providing you with some sample language for that. What doesn't count is the same as last year. It is included. There's a list of 7 or 8 things that don't count that are included in the document on your chair. They all have really good reasons. Some of them might seem very obvious, some of them not so much. I'm happy to have you follow up with me and ask, well, why doesn't a corporate matching gift count? And actually that question is specifically answered in that document. Launch gifts will be accepted from November 1st through the 16th, and the VIP site is a really great way to have the launch gifts come in part because everything that comes in through the launch site, we know that it's a Big Give gift. You don't have to do all of the other documentation you otherwise would have to do. So it's really a win-win for you and for us. And for the donor, therefore, to channel as many gifts through that pathway as possible. So on the day of, in the donor and gift services world, the day of is actually the really easy part of the Big Give. It's where, the campus activity really comes to fruition, and for some of you, the push to it is really significant, but not that we don't work long hours that day, but the online giving piece of it is the part that is very straightforward for us in donor and gift services. Again, the what counts and what doesn't count is the same on the day of as it is in the launch phase. So a corporate matching gift doesn't count, et cetera. And these are the various channels through which donors can take action on the day of. If you don't know this, if you haven't heard this, University Development and Alumni Relations is going to be vacating its space at 2080 Addison and consolidating in 1995 University Avenue, otherwise known as the Golden Bear Building, in early 2018 before the big give. So if you do have those day of gifts that you need to walk into us, you will be coming to a different address. So just something important to note. So I've been talking about donor and gift services just in case you're relatively new or still don't really understand what it is we do in the black box called donor and gift services. Amongst other things, we're the people who approve gift agreements, accept, record, and receipt all gifts for the campus, manage all the gift funds, manage the campus-wide gift acknowledgement, donor recognition, and stewardship programs, and manage all the philanthropic namings. So that is the support we provide to you, and any one of those things could come into play with a launch gift. I mean, there might be a launch gift that results in a philanthropic naming, and that's something that we can work with you on. We're doing a couple of things differently this year, and we're really hoping that you will work with us on this and help us in this way. We have established, and we will start taking inquiries on October 16th, a new Big Give specific email alias. There it is right there. That's your one central point of contact for anything related to the Big Give. Now, if you're working on a gift agreement that's for a Big Give launch gift, fund terms for a Big Give launch gift, you should continue to follow the regular processes of working with fund management on that. But if you have a question about what counts, if you have a question about reporting, if it's something that's very specific to Big Give, this is the way to go. And we ask that you refrain from directing inquiries to individual people, to individual people's email addresses, to individual people's phone numbers, and that you use this pathway. This is going to really help us be more efficient in the way we triage, track, and follow up with you. It's going to help us make sure we close every loop with you. And after the Big Give's over, it's going to give us some information about things we can improve on for next year. I'm going to be fielding all the requests for exceptions, most of which will undoubtedly have to do with timing. If needed, I will escalate to Lachelle Blakemore, but you can start with me, and you can contact individually using my phone number or my individual email address. So I know that our donors and all of you, our colleagues, aren't really satisfied these days with how timely we're doing gift processing and receipting. And this is going to help if you, use these pathways that we have laid out for you this year. We feel that this will allow us to really focus on getting gifts processed rather than, you maybe have called 4 different people within donor and gift services looking for an answer to your question. That is not the best use of our time in general, and we want to support you this way instead. So I was asked to give you a little bit of, actually, before I move off of that, we'd also like you to try to be a little more self-sufficient, right? So looking for gifts on CADS yourself, using the unposted transaction report on CADS yourself. And this is a really great time to make sure you know how to do that. So I would encourage all of you in the next couple of weeks, before we start getting really deep into December gift processing, our calendar year in gift processing, to try to run the unposted transactions report and make sure you've got that down cold, and let us know if you don't, because it's a really great tool to figure out what we have already received, and we've deposited a check, let's say, but we just haven't yet posted it into the system. And this gives you a little bit of insight, and I realize it's probably a little hard to read, but people are always asking us, well, what actually happens in gift processing? What is really the process? So this is a very high level, very generic representation of the steps of gift processing. And I think these slides will be available on Eureka, and you can look at this and you can follow up with me if you have any questions. But what's important to note is in our role as the delegated authority for gift acceptance for the campus, we're not only having to adhere to donor intent, but we have to comply with a lot of IRS regulations, industry practices, as well as accounting standards. And all of those things, other than the donor intent part, don't sound like they're a lot of fun, but it's our job. So a lot of the follow-up inquiries may have to do with satisfying some of those requirements. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes things just don't automatically go through the system. But in general, reviewing and depositing a gift and entering the data into the system and auditing the gift and getting it posted, that's about a 4 to 5 day process for the average gift during most of the year. These are our gift volumes from December of 13 through December of 16. And it's really obvious on this graphic where the big give and where calendar year end are and what those volumes were. In November and December of 2016, we processed 40% of last fiscal year's gifts. So we processed 40% of the transactions in about a sixth of the year. You can understand why this was pretty challenging for us, and another reason why we're trying at least to redirect our our service efforts this year. Separate from the big give, we've set a goal of completing calendar year end, December 17 transactions, by January 19th of 2018. You're going to be hearing more about that soon. But one of the ways in which it will actually benefit the big give, the work that we're doing to achieve that, is that starting this week, we have made an operational change to how we post online gifts. And any gifts that come in through the online portal that are just really clean, that have no donor notes, nothing, will go straight through and be posted to CADS. So you should start seeing just a much faster turnaround rate on online gifts, which will benefit calendar year end, and then it will benefit the big give in 2018. So I know that I got a little bit into the weeds here. But hopefully that gives you some insight into how we participate in and support you in the big give, and why sometimes we're not able to turn things around as quickly as we would all like. But again, we're looking for you to partner with us to create a better donor experience for this year's big give by doing things a little differently. So I'd like to hand it over to Pamela Chan of UDAR. And she is Big Give's program manager, and she's going to get back to some of the more exciting stuff.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pam Chan with UDAR in Direct Response Marketing. Oh, thank you. Nancy, all the work that you do is very exciting because it makes Big Give happen. So thank you all. So I also want to put a plug in for something that Nancy mentioned, which was the VIP site. So I think it's one of the best kept secrets of Big Give. So if you send your donor to the VIP site, it's a great donor experience. It's easy for them to make their gift. The gift gets uploaded. We know that it's already accounted for Big Give. Your donor also gets credit card points, and all you need to do as a fundraiser, all you need to do is make sure that there's a proposal. So if your donor is open to using their credit card and making their gifts online, really consider that. Okay, so that being said, so I don't know if this really qualifies for what Nancy was saying as being exciting. There's more flow charts here, but this is something that we've never really talked with everybody about, which is when gifts get loaded onto the site. So we have this flow chart that talks about completed gifts. So the concept of completed gifts is important here. So the what counts document has the guidelines for the completed gifts. We do have a footnote here because we just, every once in a while there will be some donor that additional documentation will be required. But for the most part, the What Counts document is very accurate. And so if the completed gifts are received by gift services on February 16th, which is the first diamond here, then it will be uploaded at the beginning of Big Give, and that's March 7th at 9 p.m. So those gifts received by the deadline are going to be able to initialize your leaderboard. Nancy talked a little bit about the fact that we have a deadline, but we understand that some gifts might come in after. So for those gifts that come in after, on March 7th, for those that were able to confirm that are Big Give gifts, those will be uploaded on March 8th around 9:45. And the bottom diamond here is just all the gifts, the other offline gifts that could come in through the call center, they could come in through gift operations that come in during the day. We have different uploads that we are doing during the day, which are 9:45, 1:45, 5:45, and at the end of the day at 9:45 p.m. On the day of, if a donor makes online recurring gifts, and so these are the open-ended recurring gifts. So say a donor makes a gift and they make a $50 gift for forever. So we definitely want to encourage these gifts. So for these gifts, what we do is we count the first year's payments for the big gift totals. So how these show up on the website, so this one is a little confusing. The first payment is counted immediately, and it's a manual process, so we do this at the end of the day for all the open-ended recurring gifts. We tally them up at the end of the day, and we load them onto the Big Gift site at 9:45. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. So this chart here just really talks about the difference in how the gifts are handled if they're received by the due date. So the first column there is if they're received by the deadline of February 16th versus if they're received after if they're late and they're received after the deadline and received before the Big Give. So if the gifts are received by February 16th and they're complete, then we guarantee that they will populate the leaderboard as long as they are truly Big Give gifts. For those gifts that are received late, we can't guarantee that we will populate them in time. We will definitely do our best, but we will need to walk through them and make sure that we can confirm that they truly are big gifts. And then when the gifts will be, when they will show on the leaderboard, we just went through that. If they're received on time, they're going to be up on the leaderboard at 9 p.m. on March 7th. And that's really nice because then when the Big Give leaderboard goes live, it really puts your unit with their best foot forward. Gifts that are received after the deadline that we're able to confirm will go up to the leaderboard at 9:45 on the day of Big Give. Okay, and then there's one thing that.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Sure.
How do you guys prioritize that second column? Like, you're going to do your best. Is it the cleanest ones, or is it chronologically received, or how do you do that?
I'm looking to Nancy to that, because that's definitely a Nancy question.
So, thank you, Mindy. One of the, and this gets back to some of the communications that are going to be rolling out around calendar year end. Thanks. What the messaging you're going to start seeing from us about calendar year end is going to say, we're going to prioritize gifts that are complete. The documentation's complete. You have filled out your transmittal forms properly. You've indicated the CADS ID of the donor, et cetera. So we will use that same prioritization for the Big Give. Now, having said that, one of the things that isn't incorporated here is anything we receive in the month of February, we really have to post as part of the February close, which we have scheduled for a few days before the Big Give. So there is a very high probability that everything we receive in February will get in. So it's that gap in the first few days of March that are going to be where we're going to have to make some decisions. And, you know, I'll be working with Matt Weaver, our new director of gift services, who is over here and who's going to wave, and his team on going through those and making some decisions.
And that was actually a good segue to the last piece on the chart, which is how many UDAR emails. So the deadline, the reason why we have the deadline is so that we have sufficient time to process these. So if we receive the gifts in time, we'll be able to remove those donors for whom their launch gifts are received by the deadline so that they receive fewer emails. So those donors will only receive 2 emails. They'll receive one at 5 a.m., which announces Big Give Day, because we'll want to make sure that they don't miss it. And they'll also receive the email at the end when we cap off Big Give Day and we share all the totals. Those other gifts that are received after the deadline, they will be receiving the full suite of emails from UDAR. We have a couple minutes, and I'm trying to get through so we can do questions. Okay, so theme, brand, what's your Berkeley moment? So this is the fun part that Nancy was referring to. UDAR's marketing and communications came up with this really great theme. What's your Berkeley moment is a great theme to sort of encapsulate the whole Big Give, and it actually can be used in your solicitation as well. It's a great starter for a conversation. What's your Berkeley moment? And it also is a way for you to also be sharing the theme with your donors, so you're kind of giving them insider information. On the day of, this is actually how the branding is going to be used throughout the campaign. So for the pre-event, we're going to be talking about seize the moment. And then when it's day of, now is the moment. And then at the end, hopefully, we're going to be saying that was momentous, when we're all big gived out. Okay, so this is also part of the branding this year. This is knolling, and knolling is very popular, I'm told, in advertising and on Instagram. And what knolling is, you can see, it's arranging different objects at 90-degree angles to sort of display a whole concept. And this is a really nice way to display your Berkeley moment. So Marcom and UDAR will be developing some videos and some photos for this. What's your Berkeley moment is really the big theme and the social prompt. You get bonus points if you want to do something like this for your unit. Keegan's cat. Okay, so contest. I'm going to go through the contest pretty quickly because most people are have been to a Big Give previously, and we want to save some time for Q&As. But the contests really help build the enthusiasm and also build the social presence for Big Give, and it really helps amplify everybody's awareness. So the contests are very similar to last year. This is not. There we go. Okay, so we have Big Slice and Big Bang. And Big Slice is where you all come in because that's the revenue-based contest. And you guys saw the slide from last year that Jasmine showed where about $5 million was from the launch gifts. So that's all you. So thank you guys for coming and thank you guys for participating because it really makes a big deal and it really helps build enthusiasm for Big Give. And so the Big Slice contest is just a percentage. It's just based purely on percentage. So if your unit raises 10% of the funds for Big Give, you get 10% of the prize money. This contest is also at the fund level, so every fund automatically participates in this contest with the caveat that for Big Slice, you have to earn at least $10 for us to award you prize money. For Big Bang, it's a participation contest, and it's purely based on the number of gifts. And this contest is for the campaign management team funds. So we also have Big Countdown, and Big Countdown, the details of that will be coming out in January. And this is the hourly contest where we encourage donors and parents and alumni to give at different hours, where we have the social media contest that really, where you see a lot of the fun posts that really amplify Big Give. New this year is Go Big for student groups. And this is a student group contest. And what's different about it this year is that it's a student group contest, but anybody can give to it. So last year, the student group contests were based on students giving. But this year, we've opened it up so that parents and alumni can give to it. And you might be asking, why are we doing this if it's a student contest? Well, we all know that we're trying to engage students with philanthropy. So we really find that when we get the students to give, of course, engages them, but also becoming a fundraiser for a day or two really helps them understand fundraising. And we have also found with the student group contest that it's helped us re-engage donors that haven't been engaged, or also acquire new donors when we're talking to them about their student groups. So it's a really good way to promote some of the student groups and student philanthropy. Okay, so we had a focus group with fundraisers, and one of the things that they asked was, what are our donors receiving? So this is the email schedule. We sort of walk through it. There are some handouts in the back, and you can find it on Eureka as well. But in addition to receiving the UDAR email, so also be receiving emails from other units, and they'll be receiving Berkeley Online. And when you look at this handout, you will also see that we had left really good slots open for units. I think it's in the morning from 5 a.m. Till about 1 o'clock, we have an opening. And then from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, there's opening. So there's really good slots for the campus units to send emails. Okay, key dates and deadlines. So October 16th, the new gift inquiry process that Nancy talked about begins. November 1st, the launch gift period starts, and the VIP site is going to go up on that day. November 17th, there's lots of things due, so I want you guys all to be aware of this date. So if you're a CMT unit, you need to confirm your leaderboard fund. If you're not changing your fund, you don't need to do anything. And an email has gone out to the CMT so that they know about this. On November 17th, the hashtag registration ends. And if you're participating in social media, you really need to provide your hashtag so that we can then list it for you. November 17th, now these two are new. So on the Big Give website, if you have a unit challenge, we will be listing the unit challenge on the website. And then also if you have a live event, we'll list it. So there's on Eureka, there's links for you to fill out forms so that you can provide this information to us. And then the launch gift period ends on February 16th. Then we have Big Give, March 7th and 8th. And then May 31st, then the contest funds are distributed. Okay, so how are we with time? Do we have time for Q&A? Okay. Does anybody have any quick questions? I know it's noon and people might be hungry. Okay, and panel, do you guys want to come up to help answer the questions? Yeah, Lynn.
Can you explain, just in 2 sentences, it's my same question, can you explain what the unit challenges / I think matching fund, who was talking about matching fund, I think that's a fund that the unit already maintains, like from unrestricted money or something. But what is what you're talking about in terms of challenge gifts or challenge situations, events?
So that is if a unit decides that they come up with a unit challenge. So I know that other units in the past have said, if we get a new donor or if donors upgrade, we're going to match that money. So they secure that match for their unit. So what we'll do is we'll list it on the Big Give site for you.
Advertise it, basically.
Yes, advertise it basically.
But the match itself is not a Big Give gift.
The match, yeah. It can be. It can be if it's for Nancy. This is Nancy's world.
So what we have found works really well is if you have a donor or group of donors who want to fund some sort of match for the unit, you develop whatever those criteria are, increased donors, whatever. And then you have to track that throughout the Big Give. And then you arrange with them that on the day of the Big Give, like a couple of hours before we're done, they go online and make that gift, right? And then it counts. If you tell them that, after the dust settles, we'll tell you how much it is, then it's not going to count.
2 questions over there.
So I think I understand on the day of that you want to minimize the number of emails that the launch donors are receiving. But if I'm a launch donor and I'm really invested in my unit doing well, wouldn't I want to get the status update? It seems weird to me to only open the day with them and close the day for the people who I believe would be the most invested. I'm a little confused by that.
Oh, that's a great point. That's actually, I think those people that are invested in Big Give, so we actually, on the day of, we see a lot of repeat visitors. Some people have said that they feel like they got a little carpal tunnel from pressing refresh. And I think that those donors will naturally do that.
But those are just the emails that we're sending.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. Yes. Holly, did you have a question?
So the live events, do those include student events?
Yeah. Yes. The question was, the live events, do those include student events? And the answer is yes.
So if you have a group of fired up volunteers that want to help with launch gifts,
Awesome.
are there materials that will help them know some of these FAQ kind of data that you're sharing with us today?
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie Kalem, for those of you who don't know me. Thank you for that question, Shanti. So we do have the toolkit, all these documents that are in the back and that were on your chair. They're all available on eureka.berkeley.edu/big give. Anybody with a CalNet ID can log in. The first 2 rounds have been uploaded. The third round will include volunteer checklists, as we've done in the past, with like sample language and things like that. And those are created for folks who coordinate volunteers. So they're really a resource for you to reach out to your volunteers. So,
Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, well, thank you all for attending. There are the surveys. Please let us know how we did in terms of providing the information that that might be helpful to you. And thank you so much for your help with Big Give. Go Bears!